a kind of seamless transition from what Ryan was saying, and for us to go from Arteta to Xavi. Janusz, can Barcelona afford anybody else except Rafa Marquez and promote from within, given their financial issues?
Well, it's not going to be easy. Of course, things can change quickly with Barcelona, right? It is a massive club, and the number of what do you call them, palancas that they've pulled is seems endless. It seems to me, given the fact that the rebuilding camp now it doesn't really help right now. There's a fight within the league with Tebas as well in terms of obviously reining in teams, in terms of spending money, and that rebuild is not going to be all that easy, especially with the fact that Real Madrid, they've made it so easy, right? Because their transition within the season, they're doing a little bit of what Liverpool are doing as well. They took a breather. A lot has been said about Xavi last season. I think he came in and took advantage of that small amount of time that Real Madrid needed to kind of come to terms with losing Benzema and changing, losing Casemiro, and knowing that Luka Modric and Toni Kroos are kind of getting on, and Tchouaméni and Camavinga, we see the results. We see Rodrigo, this, that, and the other. All the players getting better. So I think Xavi took advantage of that last season, and that's why maybe he's paying the price, because had he come, a point away from winning last season, and the build-up would have been natural. The expectations, of course, that are massive there anyway, would have been different. So, of course, you take the title when it's there. I'm not insinuating that it's better to come second or first, but I hope you understand what I'm saying here. Mm-hmm. So really, right now, it's very, very difficult to think that they can afford some of the top managers. But I think that's not the issue. That's what Liverpool need to do, and that's what Barcelona need to do. It's somebody that takes this long term. I think it's going to be easier at Liverpool because the fans will be patient there. As we know at Barcelona, they're not patient with anybody. But somebody young that plays proper way of football, and someone that's given time to rebuild this Barca side on a shoestring budget. That's why De Zerbi is probably one of those where, if not Liverpool, because that's a good possibility with a young team there. If Xabi Alonso is not the one, I could see absolutely De Zerbi being up for Liverpool or Barcelona, because he's got a great network. Shoestring budget is no problem rotating and risking young players, as we all know. And he's going to be the man that could be enticed. But he's going to worry about the same thing. The pressure there is much different than it would have been anywhere, even in the Premier League, I think.
It was nearly an hour and a half after the game against Villarreal at the weekend when Xavi came out and met the press and gave us the announcement that he would be leaving at the end of the season. Now, since then, a lot has been written about that, but there's a further quote that I want to show you from Xavi. This is a club legend. This is a guy who, when he left to go to the Middle East as a player and then as a manager, the Couleurs they weren't happy, but they appreciated what he's done. So, Ryan, when you read these words, a cruel and unpleasant job, I mean, this is Barcelona we're talking about. It makes you feel worthless. I've got the feeling whatever I do, I won't be valued. It's not to do with putting up with the pressure. It's such a difficult moment. I don't think our work will ever be valued. What does this do for his legacy at the football club?
I mean, one of the through lines of Xavi's tenure at Barcelona is incredibly melodramatic commentary after anything bad happens. So I think we need to keep that in mind. Okay. But I mean, it is like one cruel and unpleasant thing would be seeing Sergio Busquets get replaced with Oriol Romeu in an offseason. Like, I understand as a coach how that would be cruel and unpleasant to have to deal with that. But I think with Barcelona, right, one of the things that makes the club unique beyond the sort of ethos and the ownership structure is that, like, the Barcelona fans, they rarely are like pushing the team forward, right? Like, if you watch a game at the Camp Nou, it's more of like a bunch of like art critics watching the game, where like the fans aren't going to cheer until Barcelona impresses them, right? While, like, using Liverpool, for example, like the fans are driving the team on for 90 full minutes. So I think that it is like, I understand what he's saying, right? That it's cruel and unpleasant because, like, yeah, the team was completely rudderless for a half decade, basically, before Xavi got there. Then they won La Liga, and now it's just like no one really appreciates what Xavi did at all, despite him being a club legend. So, yeah, I think from the financial aspect and then the sort of like cultural place that the team holds, I think it kind of is an impossible job at this point.
Janusz, has there been one thing this season that's led to the defending champions in the position that they're in right now, or has it been a culmination of things not helped by not being able to play at their home stadium?
I think, none of that, by the way, helped. The fact that Robert Lewandowski is not playing to his level, that's, it's a function of the team, right? I mean, remember last season, that defense was good. But it was also aided by arguably the best goalkeeper in La Liga, if not in Europe, Ter Stegen. Iñaki Peña, I'm sure everybody watches. I watch him all the time. I don't know what the expectations should be, but he's been poor, and not just on the mistakes on goals, but his indecision on crosses is unbelievable. I mean, I don't remember last goalkeeper that I've seen that kind of comes out, stops, and goes out again. You could almost 2 or 3 times every game, right? So when the defense look, and I don't want to put it on Iñaki Peña because, as I said, expectations for him to step into those shoes after Barcelona winning the league, and you have Ter Stegen, as I mentioned, it's not easy. But that entire unit, because of that, looks unsafe as well. And the other reason, Camp Nou, probably is this team is still relatively young. I think the loss of Ousmane Dembélé, aside from him being late and maybe in terms of professionalism, I think he was very, very important because one of the few game changers on that team, and one also that somehow Robert Lewandowski, when Ousmane Dembélé wasn't selfish, I think Lewandowski still benefited from him being there. Injury, so I think it's a normal thing. And and the last reason, of course, is and I would say Girona, but that's unexpected. I don't think Barcelona can go there. But I think the biggest reason is Real Madrid, because let's face it, it is between those two clubs. Barcelona fans care all about Real Madrid and vice versa. That's all that matters. So when you see a team like Real Madrid, after losing so many key players or aging stars, to kind of quickly turn around, and with Carlo Ancelotti looked again like the world beaters for the most part, even though they had their share of injuries as well. I think that combination is, to me, is not unexpected. But the key players being out doesn't help.
Going to wrap this up by talking about what's next for Xavi, because he finished his playing career with Al Sadd in Qatar and then began his managerial career there. I don't think he's damaged goods. I mean, he's just won the league with Barca and he's not having a good time right now. So, Ryan, is he still a candidate for one of the top jobs in European football, or it might be a case of back to the Middle East or maybe Saudi for a spell to consider his next move? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would, if I was like managing a mid-tier team or team like on the outskirts of the Champions League in one of the big 5 European leagues, I don't think I would be scared of hiring Xavi. It might be worth a shot. It's still a big risk because we've only seen him basically manage Barcelona and then like 17 rungs lower on the competitive ladder. But yeah, I don't know. If I had to guess, I feel like Saudi Arabia feels like the league I would put him in. Feels like where he would be headed next. I don't really picture him getting a big job. I honestly feels like his next big job could be like back at Barcelona in 5 years after, maybe working in Saudi Arabia, somewhere else between that.
Janusz, once a club legend, always a club legend for him. This hasn't done anything to harm his legacy, has it?
No. Players was quick. I mean, supporters will forget, even though they were so hard on him. But they'll remember what he's done. Ultimately, when few months go by, you kind of think back, and probably as a fan, you say, "Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a great environment for him to come in." We know that his relationship with Laporte wasn't great. He's going to be a legend, continues to be. In terms of where he goes, yeah, that's a tough one. But if I were him, if Xavi leaves, something like Bayer Leverkusen, right? They're open to new coaches, young coaches, attacking-minded coaches. So why not? Pep was in Bundesliga. Jurgen came from there. Many other great coaches. So, for example, Leverkusen or a team like that, even a Dortmund. I mean, Dortmund, I'm spitting probably a little bit more than Leverkusen or any team really in Serie A, because he's going to realize very quickly, okay, this was always going to be difficult. It could have happened to the biggest of the managers in Barcelona. No big deal. I'm still at the beginning of my journey as a manager. I need to learn from that, and I need to continue to learn as a manager. So I don't think he's going to be the one looking for the biggest clubs out there, because they're probably not going to look for him at this moment. So just stay humble, continue to learn as a manager, and I think his time and a massive club will come.
Okay, I'm going to do what I did 15 minutes ago, and I'm going to end this time by asking you for one name. Janusz, you get to be second. Ryan, who will replace Xavi at Barcelona? One name.
Rafa Marquez.
Okay. Right, Janusz, you've had one chance. You blew it. This is your last chance to give me one name. Not a second, not a third, not a fourth choice. To end today's ESPN FC Live, Janusz Michallik will now give us the name of one manager who shall replace Xavi at Barcelona next season. Go.
Don't know. To be continued.
The build-up.